This is Meteo Mundo.
Hello, friends. Rusty with you here. Hang on a second. We went to a blank screen. I'm going to take myself off camera. Give me just 1 second here. Apologize for that. Sometimes this thing hiccups every so often. There we go. I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to move back over. This is what I love about live. Ready? I'm going to pop myself back on. How you doing, friends? I hope you're having a great Sunday. I am Meteo Mundo Chief Meteorologist Rusty McCraney. It is fantastic to see you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Welcome to this live stream. I am at your disposal. This is going to be a stream where we simply talk about anything you want to. What's happening in the tropics right now, we'll go over some heavier rainfall that we've had lately. We've got a couple of areas of interest to talk about. One that'll be moving closer to the Bahamas and the other one that'll be headed to the Caribbean as well. So please feel free, first of all, to drop a comment in. We appreciate that as well. You can see that we have the super chat feature in effect as well. So again, if you have a question about the forecast, let me know. We'll cover everything. There's no particular order in this whatsoever. Again, if you're just new to Meteo Mundo, we're new as well. We're a new channel here on YouTube and other digital platforms. And we thank you for tuning in. We have over 4,000 subscribers already. And again, we provide daily weather updates for the entire Caribbean and the Bahamas. And obviously this time of the year, the tropics has a lot to do with what we cover. So we'll get into it here by saying thank you for liking the video. And again, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We got daily videos. And every so often we do these live chats as well. So hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Yeah, let me know where you're viewing from. Obviously, we want to hear from that. We are really trying to build a community here at Meteo Mundo. And through some of the videos that we've done, especially when Hurricane Tammy developed, we started to hear from folks all over the Caribbean and the Lesser Antilles and all of the Windward and the Leeward Islands and Bahamas and our friends in Jamaica and Aruba. It's been really neat, actually, to go back and read all of the comments on the posts and just see where you guys are tuning in from. Again, you know, we'll talk about the areas here. Now, if you notice this yellow area in the Caribbean, that's kind of new. If you saw this morning's video, I mentioned how both the GFS model and the NAM model was trying to develop a little something for the mid to late week hours here across the Caribbean. And now the Hurricane Center is highlighting at least a low end chance. So that's kind of the newer things, but we've got a lot of heavy rain still for the British and the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and portions of the Lesser Antilles. So let me swing over here and just take a look at this again. Hello. Mary from Dominica is checking in. I appreciate you. Hi, Chad, watching from Jamaica. Jennifer, good afternoon to you as well. Brian is joining us from lovely New Smyrna Beach. We appreciate you, Brian. You think this year will be in a neutral season? I believe you're probably talking about El Nino, La Nina. We are well into an El Nino winter pattern for us here across the Atlantic. Now, typically, El Nino brings us really strong, fast upper level winds, which likes to share apart any storms that want to develop as we get into the latter half, or especially the latter months of the Atlantic hurricane season, especially in November. But we're also fighting extremely warm sea surface temperatures. And I think despite the stronger upper level winds, we're going to have more development. I mean, you're seeing that right now. So I tell you what, let's start in with what's happening with this disturbance that cropped up off of that moisture axis that's been plaguing Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and the Leeward Islands, which is some very heavy rain. And I actually do have some details on some new flood watches that are in effect. But the interesting thing is, right before I came on live here, you notice that this is orange now. The Hurricane Center has slightly lowered the chance of development. Anything 70% or higher is red, and that's what we had. We had a cherry out there, but now we have an orange because they've ticked it down to 60%. If you notice right now, it doesn't look very good. I mentioned it yesterday. It's fighting a lot of shear on the western side of the storm. Now, again, it's beginning to creep up the eastern sides of the Bahamas as we speak, and that will continue to be the track. I mean, it's going to try and get fairly close to places like Eleuthera and Abaco and Grand Bahama and Walker's Key. I think more than anything, though, first of all, the heaviest rain is going to stay east of where that ill-defined center is going to be, but it's going to certainly kick up the breezes. We're going to get some wind-driven showers there and some stronger surf and sea conditions as well. Now, in the Bahamas here, let's take a look at the model forecast for this here. I'm going to switch on over to this. Again, We got plenty of time. I'm going to do about anything I want to here. I'm going to put this into motion, and you're going to see basically the model running here over the next 48 hours. So let me actually take off the satellite data so we don't have two things on at once. But you get the idea that as this potential depression moves into the northwest side of the Bahamas, you can see that broad spin, nothing very concentrated whatsoever, but we're going to kick up the winds and we're going to kick up the rain chances for places like Marsh Harbor and Freeport and Lucaya and the Bimini area and Authorstown, certainly New Providence and Nassau, all the way down towards Clarencetown and Eleuthera, my friends there as well, on over towards Dunmore Town there. And again, the orange is just where the Hurricane Center thinks that if this is going to develop, that's the opportunity, if you will, as it moves up north and west. And then I'm painting on the high resolution HRR model there so you can see what we could have as far as the way of some rain moving in over the next 48 hours. Let's take a look at the wind with this as well. Switch over to the winds real quick. And again, you can see the same situation here. Again, this is a very high resolution model. So we're starting to pick up some of those oranges. Now these are gusts. These aren't sustained winds, but you can see I would expect some long period easterly swells for the central and the northwest Bahamas out of this, even if it doesn't even become a depression. I mean, even if it stays ill-defined, again, the winds 20 to 30 knots in gusts, potentially a depression if we get a center of circulation out of it, but you can see that broad spin there on the HRR model. So for the Bahamas, again, we're going to really kick up the winds and the rains for a while, regardless if this becomes a depression or not. Okay, let's swing on over here again. I want to answer plenty of the questions that you guys got here. Let's see. Jennifer says, going on a cruise on the 4th to San Juan and on the 7th in Amber Cove, the 8th, and Grand Turks on the 9th. Do you think these disturbances will affect my cruise? Going on the 4th. All right. At this point in time, Jennifer, I would say no, but keep a close eye on it. Here's what I typically do when people ask me travel questions. First of all, everyone is different, right? Meaning that what it might impact one person, no, someone else may not even care about. I'm talking about maybe like some rain or something like that. Typically speaking, when regarding travel, I only give an opinion if I think it's something that's very dangerous or life-threatening, i.e. a hurricane coming your way or some major flash flooding. Now, these disturbances don't look to impact those areas over that time. Jennifer, I tell you to check back in with us, as we get a little bit closer, but I'm never going to tell anyone, oh, I think you should change your travel plans just because it's a rainy forecast. Some people don't mind that. Some people have other indoor plans. It's very person specific. But again, as far as some of the bigger issues, obviously I'll highlight that. And if I think there's, really some life-threatening conditions that could be occurring in those areas that you're traveling. Thanks, Jennifer, for your question. We appreciate that as well. Let's see here. Hello, Anthony from Trinidad. We appreciate you. Yeah, really hot in Trinidad. I know that you guys are one of the areas that said you needed some more rain. And hopefully you got a little bit out of that, Anthony. And I think you got a chance at least for a little bit more here in the next couple days. I'll show you guys that coming up. Hello from Jamaica as well. The Flames Variety Store. I love it. Thanks. It's not just a person, it's an entire store. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for liking and subscribing as well. Brenda says it's overcast and extremely humid in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands and thunder. Yes, we're going to be talking about the rain in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and the Leeward Islands coming up. Hello as well. Brian here says that he's starting to like the Korean model. There's a lot of different models when we talk about, things that I can show you. All right. This particular system that we use when we get into the Caribbean, it's a little bit more, allows us to show you the GFS model and the NAM model a little bit easier. When we get a little bit closer to the Bahamas, there's a little bit higher resolution short-term models that I can show you, but I also have subscriptions to other services. I'm going to show you the European model coming up in regards to this, because again, all of these show kind of different solutions. And, part of what I do before I come on and I do a forecast or I do live is I go through all these models and I kind of weed the ones out that I don't think really have good solutions or solutions that I buy into. And then as we get a little bit deeper into time, of course, we're talking a little bit more broader terms as well. Let's get back to the rain real quickly here. I want to talk about that real quick here. So I'm going to take off the model here on this product. Let me get rid of that. Let's go over and look at this moisture that's been coming over through Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Now, I want to mention this, and again, please keep asking me the questions you guys have. Again, we'll cover everything, but I know a lot of folks are tuning in from these areas because it has been a deluge there the last couple of days. So the flood watch continues for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands through tomorrow morning. And what I'm anticipating is really as we go through this Sunday afternoon, we're going to see more and more showers and storms develop as we get the heating of the day. We call that diurnal convection, meaning that there's plenty of moisture in place. And now the atmosphere heating up is going to lift all that moisture, and we're going to get widespread showers and storms, and it's going to be on the heavier side from time to time. You can see those thicker clouds and some of that rain falling right now through the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands from Road Town on over towards St. John and St. Thomas down towards St. Croix, the eastern sides of Puerto Rico, Fajardo, with the islands just off the coastline, including the areas of Culebra and Esperanza, even as far west as San Juan and Ponce, and of course you get into interior Puerto Rico, and you have some of those higher terrain areas where we could see some flood issues. So the flood watch continues through tomorrow morning for there. A grand total, and this was issued, I believe, on Thursday, of 3 to 6 inches with locally up to 8. Now, that's not what's going to additionally fall. We'll take a look at the model coming up in a second for what I expect between now and tomorrow morning. But obviously that kind of flooding has led to some flash flooding issues of urban areas, of streams, even some rivers over the banks, and potential mudslides in some of the higher terrain. And if you live in any of these areas, the Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico, and you've seen some of that, drop it in our comments. I would love to hear from you guys about what you've been seeing kind of, in your area, or if you've even heard reports of flooding throughout portions of those islands. Now, I've also mentioned the northern side of the Leeward Islands as well. Places like Anguilla, on over towards St. Kitts and Nevis, and Antigua and Barbuda and Montserrat, and the opportunity for heavy rain and flooding there. Well, we do have actually a flash flood watch in effect for those areas. I want to read this. This comes from the Antigua and Barbuda Meteorological Services. They have issued a flash flood watch for the low-lying and flood-prone areas of Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, and the British Virgin Islands until 5 p.m. this evening. The flood-prone low-lying areas could once again flood with some of this excessive rainfall that's actually developing as we speak. I expect more and more rain to get going here as we go through the afternoon hours. Let's switch over to the GFS model and take a look at some of that potential rainfall in this area for you real quick. So again, we'll swing this model out. Let's go 2 days in time. How does that sound here? Just give us a little short-term look. Now, there's a good thing about what I'm going to show you as well. Earlier in the week, and again, let me get the satellite data off of here real quickly as well. Give me just 1 second. Earlier in the week, the GFS model was trying to hold on to this rain sitting right over this area through mid to late in the week. It's going to be more progressive now, meaning it's going to be moving west starting late tomorrow and into Tuesday. So we finally get rid of some of that heavier rain as we get into Halloween Tuesday. But as you can see, at least in the short term, we're going to fire up a good chance for some heavier downpours again. I'll show you again this afternoon. This is 5 o'clock, so kind of a snapshot of 5 o'clock. And just look at all of the rain again for the eastern sides of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and St. Thomas and Anguilla and St. Martin and St. Barthélemy and St. Kitts and Nevis, Barbuda, Antigua. Now, as you get towards Guadeloupe, there's going to be some downpours for Guadeloupe and Dominica and Martinique and St. Lucia and Barbados, throughout the entire island chain, really all the Lesser Antilles. Generally speaking, and it's a general thing, I would say the farther north you live, the better chance for more prolonged, persistent, heavier rain that could lead to some of that flash flooding issues. Okay, so you get up towards the British and U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and areas of the northern Leeward Islands. Now, again, that doesn't mean my friends in Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago aren't going to see some showers out of this. So I'll put this back into motion for you again. Someone in the chat just mentioned, hey, it's really hot here. More than likely could use a little bit of rain. It's going to be scattered in nature, but there is that opportunity. There's a lot of moisture, and that is one of the other big things as well. There is so much moisture in the Eastern Caribbean. And again, just even here on the GFS model over the next 2 days, and we'll talk about this area coming up, you can start to see that moisture concentrate a little bit as it moves farther off towards the west. So that's why the Hurricane Center is now highlighting at least a low end opportunity for some heavier rain and potentially a wrapped up system as it moves across the Caribbean the remainder of next week. So that's something we have to really closely monitor. I do want to take a look here as I'll get back to your questions in just 1 second. One real quick look at the total precipitation over the next 2 days. So this is the additional rain that could fall in these areas over the next 48 hours. Again, at least for most areas, we're not talking about more than 3 or 4, but some of this, if it comes down in a short order, could lead to additional flooding issues, and that's why we have those flood watches that are currently in effect. So again, for the Esperanza area there, just off of the coast of Puerto Rico, about 3 inches of rain. Fajardo, about 1.5. San Juan, 1.1. Culebra, about 2 inches of rain. As you get towards the northern side of the U.S. Virgin Islands, we've got, let me see here, zoom just a little bit longer here. So again, you're looking at about 1.3 there for St. Thomas and St. John, Road Town, maybe up to 2 additional inches of rain. St. Croix, 2 inches of rain. And again, don't focus on one number, but look at the average, and the model is pretty consistent right now. An additional 1 to 2 inches of rain, and that kind of rain, maybe just an inch for Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, 1.5, Montserrat, 1.8, on over towards Antigua, about a half inch of rain or so. So again, a little bit farther east, a little bit less rain, but you get the idea that for these northern areas, 1 to 2 plus additional inches of rain is likely between now and on Tuesday, but the majority of that falling through Monday afternoon. So flood watch in effect for those areas. Let's get back to some of your questions here. I'm going to actually scroll back down, kind of just keep looking here and saying hi to everyone. Let's see here. Janelle says hello from Trinidad and Tobago. Hi, Janelle. Good to talk to you. Hope you're having a great day. Thank you very much. And again, if you want to ask a question, and you want it highlighted, we have that super chat feature now available. It supports the channel. Again, we're a young channel. We appreciate all of that. You can also see other ways in the description if you'd like to support the channel as well. There's a tip jar. There's the super chat. We appreciate everything. Hello, Nicole from Barbados. It's great to hear from you. Nicole from Antigua says, viewing from Antigua, lots of rain today, overcast now. Yeah, let me know, Nicole, if you've actually seen any or heard about any flash flooding issues. Again, there is a flash flood watch for Antigua until 5 o'clock this evening. See, Gerald says, how will the rain be for the northern part of Eleuthera? I'm a farmer. Would love to find out. I would expect some scattered showers in Eleuthera, probably not significant rain, to be quite honest, but we can look a little bit closer to that in a minute, Gerald. Let's see here. Brian asked about Tropical Tidbits. They're a great site as well, by the way. Gerald says, your godsend from Bahamas. Thank you very much, Gerald. I appreciate that. William says, thank you for the information. St. Thomas has been getting on and off rain, but thank goodness no flooding. Thank you, Brenda, for that. I appreciate that as well. Uh-oh. I hope I didn't click off my chat. Give me just 1 second. There we go. Again, I'm working with a second computer over here as well here. Okay, so I do want to get into what's happening with that disturbance. That's going to be the next piece of information that I want to talk about. So let's kind of switch ideas here real quickly. We'll get this off. I want to zoom back out. Now, again, one of the things I mentioned in the last couple of forecasts that I did is just the absolute abundant amount of moisture that is in play right now, right with the north-south axis through the eastern side of the Caribbean. So let's switch over to the upper level atmosphere here. All right, I'm going to try and put this back into motion for us here if I possibly can. Might not be able to here. Let's see if I can switch over. Let's see if this will get it looping again. Yeah, maybe not. We'll figure it out here in just a second. Let's see if I can put this back on. I've got a lot of different tools I'm working with here, guys. A lot of different things I want to show you, so bear with me because I want to certainly make sure that I'm covering everything I want to. All right, not going to get that able to loop at least right now. Actually, I'm going to push a button and hope that works. All right, it didn't work. It's okay. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to actually refire this back up here in just 1 second here. But anyway, I'm going to take your questions as the system moves back in. Let's see here. Fresh Fortnite YT, I love the name, by the way, says hi from St. Kitts. Carolyn says hello from Belize. Hello, Belize. I hope you guys are having a great day as well. And again, Belize is an area that we're watching for potential more tropical moisture to be moving back in. Okay. Now that I've got this up, this should start to loop again. There we go. I love this system. It's a fantastic analysis tool. There's actually so much that you can do with it. I've got 2 screens that I'm working with, and sometimes there's just so much that kind of making sure that the right tabs are on can actually be a chore, to be quite honest, especially during this live. But again, this is one of the reasons why you're tuning into Meteo Mundo. We're doing this a completely different way than we think than anyone else does. We have all of this live radar, live satellite, updating tropical tracks for you in real time. If you watched our live stream, we have the temperatures live as well. And this is the live GO16 high resolution satellite. So I wanted to mention again that we have this moisture axis here and the opportunity that as we get deeper into the week, sorry about that, that we're going to see this area with potential development. Now I mentioned this on the GFS model yesterday, so let me switch over to that for you real quickly here. Let me go over to the model. I'm going to switch over to make sure I've got the right model on, and then let me go out, what do you say we go out 5 days, and we'll kind of just stair step this here as we go through time. So let's go out to the 4th. That sounds good for now. All right, so I want you to notice on the GFS model as we go through the Caribbean into the central and especially the Western Caribbean, we start to see the bit of a wrapped up system. All right. The GFS model was picking up on this yesterday. It tried to steer it a little bit farther north and west. But again, I have mentioned this several times. We take these models, especially with a system that hasn't even developed yet in a center of circulation, with the biggest grain of salt you can. And what I mean by that is that, you know, I'm constantly analyzing each model run. I'm looking at consistency, not only across the GFS model from run to run, but across other models as well. So we're picking up more on this circulation, which, by the way, the European model is in agreement with as well. So you can see, look, if nothing else, there is going to be an abundant amount of tropical moisture into the central and western Caribbean mid to late week. And then we'll just have to see, and conditions are certainly favorable, especially with sea surface temperatures, if this wants to wrap up as it heads towards Central America, maybe portions of Mexico, or if it tries to make a little bit of turn to the north. Now there's another system in the far eastern Pacific that might be throwing a lot of heavier rain to portions of Central America as well, the same areas, Honduras and Costa Rica, that actually had some heavier rain with TD21, if you remember last week as well. There's been a lot of heavy rain there and the opportunity for more out of that. So let me take this model, the GFS, I'm going to extend it out just a little bit farther in time. And again, just for informational purposes here, I could take this out 384 hours if I wanted to, but I'll take it out basically a full week, and you'll start to see the end of this run. And it's going to take a second to kind of cycle up for us here, but you can see some of that heavier rain and some of that potential wrapped up system moving towards the Yucatan. Again, first blush, absolutely first blush. There's no credence in this as of yet. But again, just so you guys know that in that area of yellow, the GFS model is also in agreement with that. And I'm going to lay that yellow area on. And again, this is why the Hurricane Center is putting this on. Just a 20% chance as of now, but I would expect that number to go up if these models continue to show this same solution. So for our friends in Jamaica, again, we'll keep a very close eye on it for you. You can see that there's going to be more rain, if nothing else, for Kingston and Negril and Spanish Town and Portmore and Port Antonio. The western hillier areas will get some rain, and again, that will just continue there. Maypen, another area included there. Georgetown, Weston there, and the Cayman Islands, another area to mention and keep an eye on for the possibility for heavier rain and potentially a tropical system in your area late into the week. And then obviously the Yucatan would be included in that. Let's look at the wind profile with this for you real quick. Going to switch over to the wind profile. And again, this is kind of a better idea. You see a lot of rain associated with that, but does the GFS model actually take that and wrap it up? While it's doing so, I'm going to grab my bottle of water. If you join me for the last live, I get dry throat every so often. I'm going to take a quick sip. But we're looking at this together here, the GFS model and the winds that it's developing with that system. Now, it does look like as we get towards the end of the week and into the weekend, we're going to start to see again the wind profile come up a little bit as it gets closer to the Yucatan. Hopefully, maybe, you know, wraps up farther west than Jamaica and even the Cayman Islands. And, you know, hopefully we're not talking about a bigger system here, but you can see what the GFS does with this area of development potentially as we get towards 7 to 10 days. But again, it's very far out in time. This is just for informational purposes only. But again, that GFS model is showing that as well. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Would love to see the Jamaica forecast for the next 3 days. Chad, hopefully I covered that for you right now. So you'll have more tropical moisture coming in with this potential disturbance, and that rain could begin to pick up for your area, especially as we head into, let's say, Wednesday. Let me go back to the reflectivity here real quick. I'll drop it down to just 5 days and answer your question for you, Chad. It'd be my pleasure to do so. And that's exactly what I'm here for. You've got a specific question like Chad had about an area. Boom, we'll zoom in, we'll hit it, we'll talk about it, we'll move on. That's what we want to do here at Meteo Mundo when we're doing these live chats. So you can see again for Jamaica, as we get into later today, fairly dry. I would expect a couple of afternoon showers and storms for us here, but look at that surge of moisture coming in beginning mid to late in the week, and that's when we'll really start to see the rain chances improve. We'll also more than likely pick up a pretty fresh east to southeast wind as well, especially if that core is tracking just south of Jamaica. So again, improved rain chance there, and then we'll have to keep an eye if there'll be any potential disturbance just south of Jamaica as we head towards late in the week. But thank you very much for your question, Chad. I hope I answered it for you here. Let's see who else we got here. Susie says hi from Bay Islands of Honduras. Hi, Susie. Thank you for tuning in. We covered Honduras actually in the Tropical Depression 21 there. I was mentioning some of the areas there, including Tegucigalpa, and then there's Managua. I was learning some of my pronunciations there, but how are you doing, by the way, Susan? If you got an opportunity, drop me and let me know. I know that you guys have had some potential for excessive rainfall with several systems on both coastlines of Central America. So let me know how you've been doing as well. Carolyn says, good afternoon from Belize. Terry from Jamaica, how you doing, Cherry? Thanks so much for tuning in. Jamaica has been very prevalent in our videos and in our chats, and we appreciate you guys significantly and everywhere across the islands as well. Again, thank you for tuning into our live chat. If you've got a particular question you want me to answer it, drop it in. We've got our super chats running right now if you'd like to help to support the channel. We have a tip jar as well, and in the description you'll find ways to also support us. Again, we are a new channel here on YouTube and the platforms, but we have done very well with your support. Now over 4,000 subscribers and climbing. And again, we provide daily weather forecasts for the Caribbean and the Bahamas, and we'll continue to provide any tropical updates and as many as we need to, especially during the remainder of the Atlantic hurricane season. By the way, if we get a new tropical storm, that's Vince. We're already at the V name storm, running out of names. Hopefully we don't have to go back to the alternate list, but it's a possibility. Again, we've already had more storms than last year, and we are expecting a pretty active November. I think we're going to do another live kind of going over all of November, maybe next week if you want to tune in for that. But from what I've been looking at, with the sea surface temperatures as high as they are, I don't really expect there to be a shut-off, a snap of the finger here, at least in the next few weeks from the Atlantic hurricane season. Would expect us to be talking about potential tropical systems more than likely right on through Thanksgiving week here in the United States. So again, I want to show you the water vapor imagery here, and part of this, let me see if I can switch to GOES 16. There we go. All right. So part of the reason why I wanted to show you guys this is the amount of moisture that is available to this system up here. Do you see all of this dry air? This is one reason why we don't really expect this system to wrap up or to be a very strong system. There is just a ton of dry air. It's going to fight very quickly here, and then it's going to swing to the north and to the east, and then it is going to be done. Let me see here. I want to go to the derived RGB, I believe. I think this is going to help me out just a little bit as well. If I can, there we go. Isn't that a pretty presentation right there, by the way? Take a look at that, guys. That's beautiful. Let's see here. Let's do the full disc. Swing back to the single band. There we go. So I've got like basically all of these controls of the high resolution satellite, and I'm kind of analyzing it with you guys in real time. But this is to go to this visible imagery. Isn't that gorgeous? So again, we can see it's really clear when you look at the visible here, that drier air. This system is always going to be lopsided. If it's going to wrap up, it's going to have to do so in the next 24 hours or so. Again, that means that the drier side stays closer to the Bahamas. So I don't expect a direct impact out of this, even if it becomes a tropical depression, maybe even a weak tropical storm, but I think that's kind of the highest end for this one. But again, it's just a beautiful presentation on that satellite imagery. So for the Bahamas, wind-driven rain the next couple of days. All right, other questions here. Riley says, so my Cancun vacation will be ruined. Again, Riley, keep an eye. Let me know when you're going, Riley. If you didn't put that in the chat, let me know. I mean, obviously, late in the week and then over the weekend, we're going to have to watch out for it. But again, it's way too early to tell. We don't have anything wrapped up. Yesterday, the model was much closer to Jamaica. The GFS was. I can show you guys, by the way, if you will, the European model out of this. So I did make this presentation as well. This is for the Caribbean potential development. And one of the things that I can do, because my wife tells me this is the best way to look at me sometimes, is just take me off camera. So you guys can clearly see what the European model is. Now, what this is these are all the ensembles that are running on the European model, okay? And so you've got the ensemble model, you got all the ensembles, meaning that they're derivatives, if you will, or members of the model, and they all have different solutions. And then the European model basically comes up with a mean, and that would be basically your center line. But you can see that a lot of the members of the European model here do paint on a weak disturbance in the Western Caribbean. And by the way, that last frame is going to be early on Saturday. So I wanted to mention again, the GFS model, the NAM model, and the European model are all in fairly good agreement with a disturbance or a weak tropical system of some kind in the Western Caribbean late in the week. Now, what goes on from there? That's going to be beyond 5 days. And again, especially with a system that's not very wrapped up right now, I'm a little bit more cautious about what might be happening. But again, you saw that track trying to recurve it towards Cancun on the GFS model. But again, more members of the European model picking up on a disturbance in the Western Caribbean late in the week. And again, that last frame is early on Saturday. All right. Monday through Friday, I'm assuming of the week after. Keep an eye on it. I mean, if you are more than a week away, potentially early in your travels, Riley, you might be impacted by that system, but hopefully it would be moving north and west a little bit quicker than that as well. And again, if you're going to the Bahamas the next couple of days, maybe you've got a cruise heading that way. Maybe you're going to Grand Bahama. Yeah, we're going to have some kicked up conditions there. Again, I don't think it's going to stop you guys from going, but we might deal with some rougher surf and sea conditions because of that as well. Let's take a look here. Just switching some of the things that we can see here. This is, again, beautiful satellite imagery. I just love this. Let me almost sit on this for a second, but they can see that drier air in place. So again, not going to have a lot to deal with. Not going to be able to wrap up very much there with that one. All right, let's see. Do we have any more questions for us here? Hello from the Bahamas. James says hello. See, Chad says, remember in the Caribbean, especially around Jamaica area, the water hasn't been touched by any system. You know, so sea surface temperatures are very, very hot, relatively speaking. It doesn't really even matter where you are. You make a great point. I mean, obviously, if a system has moved by, we get what we call upwelling, and that is going to bring in a little bit cooler water to the surface. It could diminish, at least for a time, the opportunity for a system to grow over that area, but not, fully. So again, upwelling can help to disrupt a system. And certainly Chad is right that we haven't had anything near Jamaica recently as well. But again, just in these last couple of hours, look at that rain getting going there. And that's the enhanced satellite imagery, but obviously under some of that thicker cloud coverage, we're getting some of those heavier showers. So again, for our friends in San Juan and the U.S. Virgin Islands, you guys are under a flood watch through tomorrow morning. And then there is a flash flood watch right now currently in effect for Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, and the British Virgin Islands. So you guys have already had some pretty excessive rainfall, and more is going to be falling over there. And you can just start to see here, again, we're getting towards the mid-afternoon hours. Look at that bubble up. Put myself back on camera. Look at that bubble up of showers there beginning to develop over portions of the Lesser Antilles. So, we're starting to see some showers towards Martinique and St. Lucia, and that's just going to continue. We'll just see more and more storms and some heavier tropical downpours develop in the northern areas especially. But again, in the southern zones, I know you guys said you could use a little bit more rain. Barbados certainly has an opportunity, and our friends for Trinidad and Tobago. Looking at the ABC Islands, by the way, I get a lot of questions sometimes from our friends in Aruba and Bonaire and Curacao. Again, rain right now hasn't been very significant over the weekend. We've had a couple of passing showers. Let me throw on, Let's see here. I want to go to this. Let's cover actually the ABC Islands real quick because I know I have a lot of folks who watch in that area as well. Let's go back over to our model over the next 5 days. I want to just make sure that's the right time frame. Okay, so again, for the ABC Islands, with this tropical moisture, look at that rain really begin to pick up, okay? Now I need to switch the timeline here to get back to the model time frame. There we go. So you're going to see that the rain chance will greatly improve for the ABC Islands starting on Tuesday, okay? Tuesday the 31st, Wednesday, Thursday. That could be some good rain. I'll be keeping a close eye on that for any, again, flood potential in those areas. The amount of moisture that's in play, I can't express enough. So any of these areas, as this potential disturbance moves west, could see excessive rainfall. That includes Santo Domingo and the rest of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, Port-au-Prince. Certainly Hispaniola is one of the more higher terrain islands that we have. I mean, they have some areas that go up to 11,000 feet in elevation, so potential for mudslides and some of the higher terrain there is a better chance if they get some heavier rain, so we're always conscious of that. And you can see some of the rain there moving towards Aruba and Bonaire and Curacao, and then the northern sides of South America, and then Central America, again, fairly wet in nature, just a very, very wet time frame, and that will also pick up for Jamaica and the Cayman Islands later in the week. Again, everything moving from east to west, but the better news for Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and the rest of the Lesser Antilles, we push all that heavy rain to the west as well. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Back to the questions. Eric says, hi, some person on YouTube are showing this is in the Caribbean, curving towards Cuba and the Bahamas next week. Do you see that in the GFS model? So Eric, if you go back and you watch the video I posted this morning, that was what the GFS model was trending towards. In this model run, it's a little bit farther west towards the Yucatan with then a recurve towards the western sides of Cuba. But again, that's 7 to 10 days out. I don't put a lot of weight on it. I'll show it if I think it's of some importance. And more than anything, it's just to give a heads up to those areas. This morning's run was more like this. Now this one is more this way and then curving, but certainly a reach in latitude, meaning going higher in latitude towards the end of the run as it moves through the Northwest Caribbean is likely. So that's something to keep an eye on here. And I just showed you the European plots over 5 days are down right about here as well. So the question is, do we drive it through Central America, whatever that is, or is there a recurve closer to the Yucatan? At this point in time, it's just obviously too far in advance to talk about. We're a little bit more confident, I am, as far as just this entire moisture-laden disturbance moving west through the Caribbean, at least for the next 5 days. But thank you, Eric. That's a great question. I appreciate that as well. Let's see here. B-Jack wants to know what's the weather outlook for Antigua and Barbuda. Wow, 11.5 inches of rain so far in October. Obviously, a lot of that, or at least a good portion of that, came with Hurricane Tammy. And again, for Antigua and Barbuda, as I've mentioned, but we'll get right back into it because I appreciate the question very much, B-Jack, is that, again, you're going to see some scattered rain developing the remainder of today and more than likely for tomorrow, but you will begin to dry out. Again, there's a flash flood watch for Antigua and Barbuda until 5 p.m. this afternoon, and that's been issued by the Antigua and Barbuda Meteorological Services. That also extends as far north and west as the British Virgin Islands. So I would expect a little bit more rain in that area. Again, the model is not as high with the rainfall totals as it is a little bit farther west. We can take a look at the NAM model as well here as we move through the next, let's do this over the next day or so. How's that sound? All right, let's put the NAM model into motion. And again, you can see even the NAM model shows that very heavy rain in about the same areas. Certainly again, and I'll zoom into Antigua and Barbuda. To answer your question, B-Jack, so this is tomorrow. There's still moisture in play. Again, I don't expect it to be until Tuesday for that moisture access to move far enough towards the west where you'll actually begin to dry out a little bit more. And you can even see that portions of the Leeward and the Windward Islands are still going to stay wet on the NAM model for tomorrow. It's still progressing. As a matter of fact here, I don't know if I've shown you guys the full model run of the Caribbean system out of the NAM model, but we can do that right now as we're talking about some of the different solutions near the Leeward Islands and the rest of the Lesser Antilles. But the NAM model is in agreement in general with the GFS and the European model, progressing that moisture axis off towards the west. You can see it starts to bring some of that heavier rain towards Hispaniola as we get into Tuesday. Same thing for the ABC Islands. Again, it's just a progression of the moisture. And then for our friends in Jamaica, as I mentioned, I'll be watching you guys starting late Tuesday, but especially Wednesday, and then through the rest of the week to start really getting that abundant amount of moisture going back in to your area. So it's just a big progression. Again, there's a lot of the people here who tune into Meteo Mundo that are going to get some good rain over the next 5 days, and even up to the Bahamas with that, system that's trying to track up north and west. I can zoom in on that area with the NAM model. Now, again, this is going to be short-lived. We're going to have a trough coming off of the United States East Coast again, which is going to rip this thing apart and pull it off to the north and to the east. But again, scattered showers, some breezy conditions. They are kicking up I would expect some long period easterly swells as well in the eastern sides of the islands. Keep an eye on your situation in the northwest sides of the Bahamas, for Grand Bahama and Abaco and Eleuthera and Andros. If there's anything to pass along over the next couple of days as far as any flood watches or flood issues, or obviously any marine interests, I'll certainly do that in the upcoming forecast videos as well. Let me grab another quick little drink of water here and we'll chat. Oh boy, Nimpi, I hope I pronounced your name right. Apologize if I didn't, but I appreciate you coming in from the British Virgin Islands. It's been cold, like relatively speaking. Give me a temperature. I would love to know what cold is in the British Virgin Islands. You know what I can do actually? This is interesting. Let's do this. Let me go back to, I'm curious what cold is. You've got me kind of reeling now. Let me go back to let's go back to the satellite real quick. And then let me put on the temperatures. Now I'm curious. Now I've got to find out what the temperature is like right now. Is it just because it's been the rain? So I can put the temperatures on. These are real-time sensors, guys, once these things pop on. All right. I mean, all right. Well, Anguilla is 84, 82. Okay, yeah, Road Town, 83, 84. That's a little bit cool for late October. I get it. Definitely get it. You live on a hill. I would assume you're a few degrees cooler then. Okay, so let's say it's 80. I can buy that. I would buy that as cold. The question is it sweater weather, right? Is it sweater weather yet? It might be. I don't know, 80 degrees, I'd be breaking that out. Notice how much warmer it is, by the way, in St. Croix. And again, these are live temperatures that are updating as I'm on the air. So it's 90 degrees right now in St. Croix. Venture to say they have not seen a lot of significant rain on St. Croix yet, but then you get to the eastern sides of Puerto Rico. Wow, look at that, near the Fajardo area, dropping into the upper 70s as some of that heavier rain has moved in. That is neat. And then you look at San Juan, and again, that METAR is reporting 88 degrees, dew point of 77. That is some steamy air. I will say this, outside of where it is raining, I imagine it's humid as all get out in these areas. My goodness, there's so much tropical moisture in play. Unbelievable there, the amount of rain that we might see. Again, thanks for tuning in, guys. If you're just joining us, do me a big favor, hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to Meteo Mundo, we appreciate that as well. Again, we are a new channel here on YouTube, but through your support, we're well over 4,000 subscribers. And again, we provide daily weather updates across the Bahamas and the Caribbean. My name is Rusty McCraney. I'm the chief meteorologist here at Meteo Mundo. I have over 25 years of television weather experience in the United States. I grew up in Florida, and that's where I currently reside, and just have always had a big interest in the tropics forecasting, which I've done a lot of in my career as well. So happy to provide you with these updates. And I love this platform as well, guys. And the reason why I love this platform is, when I did television weather, I had a few minutes to get on and talk to you about whatever was happening. We can go as long as we want to here, and that way we can make sure we cover everyone. And the other thing too is that if we ever need to go live for any big event, we can do that as well. We jump on, we would cover the event. We expect to do that as we move forward. If there was, unfortunately, a hurricane moving into a particular area, we would try and cover that live, or at least give as much of frequent updates as we possibly can. So that's what you can expect here out of us in Meteo Mundo. And I promise you, this is also like phase 1.0. Okay, we've only been producing videos since mid-August and really almost didn't go public until the beginning of October. It was really neat to actually see. We started getting some subscribers while we were kind of in our testing phase because a lot of you were looking for this information, and hopefully we're presenting it in a very unique way here. And again, there's a lot more to come. We've got a lot of great ideas and ways that we think is going to enhance the experience here. So again, thank you for subscribing. And if you know anyone in these areas who you think could use these daily forecasts, let them know about us. Just share it with us. We would certainly appreciate that as well. So again, let's see here. We've been going on for about 45 minutes. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. Certainly would love to hear from you. Again, we do have the tip jar and we have the super chats available. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can also find a couple of other ways to support us in the description below. We'll go over this one more time, if nothing else, because of course we're getting new people coming in all the time at this point in time as well. So again, really wanted to just come on, say hi to everyone, let everyone know that, again, these kinds of live casts are going to be possible as we just go with any situation. If I just feel the need to come on and go live, we'll do that, give you guys the opportunity to ask questions. I'm at your disposal. That's why I'm here. For our friends who are just tuning in right now, again, there's two areas of interest. We have one that is sneaking up the eastern side of the Bahamas. It's actually a slightly lower chance of development compared to this time yesterday. The Hurricane Center actually dropped it down to a 60% chance. That's why that's gone from a red to an orange. It's going to be a short-lived system regardless. It's running into some drier air. But again, the opportunity for this to produce some really gusty winds and some wind-driven rain through the Bahamas the next couple of days is absolutely possible. We'll take a look at that for you here. I'm going to go over to the high resolution model here just one second, and then we'll get into our friends in the Bahamas. Just switching tabs is what I want to do here. Okay, so let's look at this. This is the HRRR model, the high resolution rapid refresh model. Like to use this one in the short term, and you can clearly see the spin. You know, this is what I love about this model. It's so high resolution. We get the more distinct things within this, and we can see that broad spin. So it will be trying to brush places like Eleuthera and Abaco and Grand Bahama and Walker's Key. Now look, it's not going to be significant. All right. You know, again, maybe a short-lived depression, maybe even by the time it gets up to the Northwest Bahamas, it's not even classified as anything as it begins to kind of merge and elongate and move off. But you can clearly see on the HRR model that broad spin. The wind is going to be something that will be kicked up indeed. We'll take a look at the wind gusts as well. Same model. Again, it doesn't really paint on any real center of circulation. My interpretation of the HRR model would be that we wouldn't even get a depression out of this because one of the definitions of having a tropical system is you've got to have the strongest winds near the center of circulation. And with this, we might actually have the strongest winds on some of the outer bands with some of the thunderstorms that'll be moving through. So may not even get a depression on the HRR model. But again, you can see if you look at the top of your screen, the legend there, as we get to the blues and the greens, and especially the yellows, we'll be getting to winds of maybe 20 to 30 knots in gusts. Those would not be sustained winds, but obviously this is going to kick up the surf and sea conditions. I would expect long period easterly swells. And again, as we get into early in the week, during my forecasts, when you come back into Meteo Mundo, certainly be highlighting any hazards that are going to be in effect for the Bahamas. And this does include the central Bahamas as well, down towards Georgetown, but certainly from New Providence and Andros, Nassau, Marsh Harbor, Dunmoretown, our friends in West End and Lucaya and Freeport there in Grand Bahama, High Rock as well. Good to see you guys. Walker's Key and the Bimini area, all going to have very breezy easterly winds over the next couple of days because of that particular system. All right, let's see. Do we have any other questions here? Let's see. Let's go back into the chat. Donovan says, I like this channel. Donovan, I like this channel too. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for doing that. Austin wants to know, so this yellow blob has some models hitting South or Southwest Florida. Austin, in general, the models will begin to lift that to the north. And some of the models do bring it close to Southern Florida. Again, so far out in time, that's not a lot in the way to really discuss, but I did show the GFS model, and I'll do it one more time, out to 10 days. It's a little bit more west, but certainly it's going to be lifting north as it gets into the Western Caribbean. And then beyond that, really, there's just not a lot to hang your hat on to talk about and be like, it's definitely headed to Key West or anything like that. Never going to do that on this channel. If I go out 7 to 10 days, there's a very specific reason, but we're still talking about in generalities for the most part. But again, yes, I would expect it to be moving north as we get into the 7 to 10 day time frame. So thanks for the question, man. I really appreciate it. Let's see who else we got here. Benjamin says, I'm watching from, is that the West Indies, I believe, right? Benjamin Baptiste, the West Indies. By the way, I'm a fan of cricket. Okay, and the West Indies, you guys have a fantastic cricket team. So I'm learning the sport, but man, if anyone knows cricket, let me know, because I have really enjoyed getting to learn that sport. It's one of the new sports in the last couple of years that I've been watching a little bit more, and the West Indies have a fantastic team. So Benjamin, if that's where you're actually viewing from, please let me know. Jamor says, hi, good afternoon, as it's passing over the Leeward Islands. Yeah, Jamor, good showers for you guys over the next next few hours, and then into tomorrow afternoon. But you'll begin to dry up on Tuesday. But again, watch out for the heavy rain. Again, if you're just tuning in, Jamor, you guys, if you live in the northern Leeward Islands, you guys are under a flash flood watch until 5 p.m. Wow, so much rain again. Yeah, Nymphy says she's getting so much rain again there in the British Virgin Islands. She's on a hill and it's cold. And I get it. Again, still for you guys, British Virgin Islands, flash flood watch in effect until at least 5 o'clock. And again, this is coming straight from the Antigua and Barbuda Meteorological Services. They've been issuing more short duration watches and advisories. The Weather Service out of San Juan, which does Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, they did a flood watch from Thursday till tomorrow morning. But these have been more in short bursts for a few hours at a time. So the flash flood watch continues there until 5 o'clock. All right, so I do want to cover this one area again in the Caribbean one more time here. Let's switch over to this shot first. I think this is the best view. So again, if you're just tuning in, I mentioned it in this morning's forecast video, as I zoom in way too far, that I noticed that on several of the models, we were getting more of an agreement with a disturbance beginning to potentially develop in the next few days in the Caribbean. It comes off of this moisture axis here, as my zoom is beginning to not cooperate. It comes off this moisture axis that's been plaguing Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and portions of the Lesser Antilles with a very heavy rain the last several days. It's what spun up this one that's headed towards the eastern sides of the Bahamas. But now as we go through the next 5 days, maybe the next 5 to 7, as this moisture moves off towards the west, there is the opportunity that we could have some development. That is what the Hurricane Center has painted on. So again, I kind of picked up on it early this morning. Hurricane Center threw on that low end chance area a little bit later on, and it all verifies with all the model information that I've been seeing. Switch over to the GFS model. The first thing I'll do here is make sure we get back to reflectivity, and then we're going to go out 5 days, and then we'll go out 10 days for everyone who is certainly interested in it. So let's start 5 days out. Let's see here. We'll just go this far out. That's fine. All right. So what you're going to see when I take off the satellite data is you're going to see, again, this moisture axis beginning to move off towards the west. That's good news for Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and the rest of the Lesser Antilles, because you guys have been the one that have been this rain just sitting over you. Now, again, this won't happen until later in the day tomorrow, as my zoom again is not cooperating. But as we go to Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll start to see this shift off towards the west. And now we'll start to see the opportunity that this broad area of moisture, and there is a ton of tropical moisture, will begin to ramp up into potentially at least a broad disturbance, if nothing else. And again, as this model slowly, it seems like, begins to kind of pick up over the next several days, you'll see that. So the bottom line is, we'll start to dry out in those areas that I just mentioned beginning tomorrow, but the rain chances go up for places like the Dominican Republic and Haiti and the ABC Islands starting on Tuesday, at least through Thursday. And then we just shift everything to the west through the remainder of the week. Then as we get towards the end of the week, now we're looking at the possibility for some heavier rain, or at least a much better chance for rain for Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and portions of Central America as well, and especially because they're dealing with this system sitting in the Eastern Pacific. So places like Managua could see some very heavy rainfall, portions of Costa Rica as well. So again, you get the idea that this will continue, and you just see the GFS model here. It's taking some time. It's taking some time to actually loop here, which is why I'm kind of waiting to see what it gives us a solution at the end. But now as we get into the first, you'll start to see that moving off towards the west, but again, just an abundant amount of rain. Let's go back here. I think one reason why it was taking so long is I had it on what's called P-type. There we go. Now it's going to move faster. All right, so you get the idea. It's very clear on the GFS model that right through this area in yellow that we have this potential wrapped up system. All right, and that's the yellow that the Hurricane Center has put on. So that's the next 5 days from the GFS. And again, people are asking, and for informational purposes only, I'm going to extend this out to 10 days. Now again, I could take this out almost 3 weeks. There's really no need to, because you could always find something scary on the GFS model this time of the year. But as we get over the 5 to 10 day time frame on the GFS, you'll start to see the system wrap up and then pull back quickly north and east. So some of the folks that were mentioning the longer duration of the GFS model beyond 5 days, days 6 to 7, northwest sides of the Caribbean, potentially skirting the Yucatan, and then swinging back through the Straits of Florida, maybe southern Florida, and then back through the Bahamas. But again, don't buy this solution in its entirety. And what I mean by that is we don't even have a close center of circulation. It's just so early in time. It's such a blessing and a curse to be able to show you these longer range models. Again, what I look for is consistency. I look at model to model runs. I look at models, separate models, and are they producing the same solutions as other models are? At least for the next 5 days, there is a lot of agreement going through the Western Caribbean. They begin to diverge after that, and that's very typical, right? The models typically tend to do this as we get farther out into time. But again, for the next 5 days, the disturbance in the Caribbean, we will be keeping a really close eye on for you there. So again, that's kind of the newest information on that. I'll switch over to the wind field and just show you the same time frame out of that as well. And while I'm doing so, if you guys notice that we also have a community tab on Meteo Mundo, and we've been asking for your sunrise, sunset photos, or any beautiful photo. If you have a photo and you'd love to send it to us, mymeteomundo@gmail.com. You can find that email address in the post that we put in the community tab. We've already had a couple. We'd love some more. We'd love to include them in these forecasts. So I don't care if you're an amateur photographer, if you're a professional photographer, snap a photo and let us know. And again, it can be beautiful shots. I would also love to see what's happening in your area. Even if you're seeing some heavy rain and flooding, be like, look, Rusty, this is what we saw. Here's a photo of it. This is where I live. Would love to get those reports from you guys as well. Certainly appreciate them. So again, you can see on the GFS model, that system wrapped up and then quickly swinging back to the north and to the east. Again, 6 to 10 days out. Anything beyond the Northwest Caribbean, I'm not really buying as of yet. But for the people asking, I can put that on for you, and you can see what the GFS model does. And again, the next named storm is going to be Vince. So the potential that maybe that becomes Vince, because this one here, really low in chance of actually getting a name. Okay, do we have any other questions here? Let's see. Don't know if I missed it. Which islands is affected east? Which system east of Barbados likely to affect? So the question is, which island is the weather system east of Barbados likely to affect? I would basically expect there to be some heavier rain. Now, again, there is more moisture coming in. This is another area to monitor here, east into the southern Atlantic basin. It is very broad in nature. There's nothing as of yet to really focus in on, but this obviously is another disturbed area of showers and storms. There's nothing that I've seen so far that says, hey, we need to keep a really close eye on this one. It's not moving much right now for at least the short term for the Lesser Antilles. It's about this moisture plume that's bringing all this heavy rain. And again, that'll be moving off towards the west. And I do want to mention one more time the amount of rainfall that we could see in this area. For if you're just tuning in, we still have flood watches that are currently in effect for some of these areas. I'm going to swing over to the GFS model one more time. I just want to paint on these potential rainfall totals over the next, really you only need to go out over the next 3 days or so. So let's just do that. We'll go out 60 hours. How does that sound? Again, take off the satellite data and you will see the opportunity for where the heaviest rain is going to fall. Now, again, this is additional rain as of this afternoon through basically Tuesday evening. Although the majority of this is going to fall the rest of today, especially in the afternoon hours. We're going to get that diurnal heating. The showers and storms are going to crop up with the heat of the day. We're going to get some heavier rainfall through the northern Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, and portions of Puerto Rico. We'll stop the model here when it gets to the end of it one more time, and then we'll take a look at what it's painting on. Again, flood watch in effect. Flood watch is in effect for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands until tomorrow morning. 3 to 6 inches of rain in total there, with locally up to 8 inches. And again, we've had some urban flooding. We've had some small stream flooding, potentially some flooding of some of the higher elevations as well. And again, for the eastern sides of Puerto Rico, the southern sides of Puerto Rico, maybe 2, maybe up to 3 inches of rain. Again, just taking a look at the averages here for the rest of the Virgin Islands, for the British Virgin Islands, near Road Town, about 2 inches of rain. St. John, around 2. St. Thomas, 1.5 to 2. Again, I don't want to look at the one number, but the averages here. Anguilla, maybe about an inch additional rain, but if it comes down very quickly, an inch of rain can cause additional flash flooding. It's not so much in some ways about the actual total, it's just about how quickly some of it falls. For our friends in St. Martin, I want their name to pop up. There you go. For our friends in St. Martin, about an inch of rain there as well. There is Barbuda, a little bit less. So Barbuda and Antigua, the model is trying to say just west of you is where this heaviest rain is going to set up. So you're looking at portions of St. Kitts and Nevis. Again, you're averaging 1.5 to maybe 2 inches of rain there. And Montserrat, right around 2 inches of rain. And again, this is additional through Tuesday, but a lot of this is going to be falling here in the next 24 to 36 hours. Dominica and Martinique, again, 1 to 2. St. Lucia, I'm just kind of going down the island chain. Why not, right? We can do this. Here's our friends in Barbados, about an inch of rain there. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, about 1 to 2. Grenada, a little bit higher. So again, the model is showing, hey, look, there will be pockets of downbursts, of good downpours where we could tally up more than 2 inches of rain. And then for Trinidad and Tobago, again, the areas that kind of need a little bit more rain from what I'm understanding, right about an inch. Now, there's not a lot of rain in the forecast as of yet for places like Aruba and Bonaire and Curacao, but again, your rain chances go up beginning on Tuesday. So that's kind of a look at the rainfall that I expect over the next couple of days in those areas. All right, let's see if we have any additional questions. All right, Benjamin says, thank you, and yes, from the West Indies. Awesome, I appreciate that. Shania says, should we be preparing for a hurricane in Grand Cayman? No, absolutely not. Not as of yet. What I would say is just be conscious of it. Just be aware, right, that there is a disturbance, more than likely moving through the Caribbean, that could develop as we go through the week. But to talk in terms of its being a depression or a tropical storm or a hurricane, it's just simply too early. But the fact that you're already asking this question, Shania, is great. This is what I love to hear from people who are in areas like where you live, that you're aware of the situation, you're conscious of it, and that you continue to monitor. And if it gets a little bit more intense as we get towards mid and late week, I'll keep you updated and let you know. But again, there's nothing that says that there is a hurricane headed towards the Cayman Islands or even the Northwest Caribbean. Again, there's a lot of disagreement in how strong this disturbance is going to get. But there will be a lot of tropical moisture. I would say regardless, you should expect some heavier rain moving your way late in the week, and then I'll closely monitor the situation for you as well. But thank you very much for your question, and I'm really glad that you're keeping up to date with things. Let's see here. Cynthia says that she is in Tyrell. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Let me know if I'm not. In Dominica, and now all we have is a lot of heavy rain. So yeah, it's been raining heavy. Look, since Tammy, you guys have had a lot of rain throughout the Lesser Antilles overall, and this is not helping things out, which is why we have the flood watches that are currently in effect. So thank you for that update, Cynthia. I certainly appreciate it. All right, guys, we're running in over an hour here, and again, Love to hear from you. If you've got an extra question, please drop it in. Again, this is what this is about. This is why I come on. I'm at your disposal. This is why we've created this Meteo Mundo channel. We again do daily forecasts for the Caribbean and the Bahamas. Certainly keep you up to date on times and when there's significant weather, like we have these 2 potential areas of development. We had Hurricane Tammy last week. Again, we do daily forecasts. You can look for those in the Meteo Mundo channel. Please like this video. It helps us out. If you aren't a subscriber yet, please become a subscriber. It helps you out. You will get a notification on when we have a new video for you to check out, the brand new forecasts. And again, we highlight everything across these areas. Certainly, we focus in on the big weather events, but I also try and go across all of the Caribbean and the Bahamas to make sure I talk about your area. So subscribing to the channel will get you those latest daily forecasts. And if you really want to help us out, you can do that in a couple of ways. First of all, just tell your family and friends about us. Again, we are a newer channel, but we have quickly grown over 4,000 subscribers, and we hope that number only keeps going up. And you can see that we also have the super chat available and the tip jar, and also other ways to support the channel in the description below if you'd like to do so that way as well. We appreciate all the support that we get here at Meteo Mundo. Okay, so I think what we're going to end up doing here is wrapping it up for now. I hope I've answered all of your questions. And again, anytime I do a forecast, feel free to drop in the comments section, hey, Rusty, I live here. I've got this question. Here's a weather report for you. We want to build that Meteo Mundo community. And part of that, again, is asking for your photos on the community tab. You'll see that. Send us a great photo. Send us a photo of the rain, of anything you got. We love those reports as well. So we're going to wrap it up for right now. I want to say thank you very much, friends. We appreciate you, and we'll see you very shortly here next time at Meteo Mundo. Have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll see you back here soon.